Go. Back with the dynamic duo, officially. Well, we've been off the record, full of shenanigans. The boys know, the rest of you don't know, and that's just happens when you miss out. Fuck you. But here's the point, though, for today, is that we wanted to talk about, and this was Lou's idea, leaders, especially great leaders that you guys had in the Marine Corps, and do a little segment on that. So let's kick that off for either of you that want to chime in here. And I figure, we'll give our proper respect to the NCOs that deserve this. A lot of people, when they think about leadership in the military, they immediately assume an officer and forget about our sergeants, the corporals that have been doing a lot of the back-breaking load carrying here. So let's start that with NCOs that really stand out in your mind and your journey in the Marine Corps.
Oh, you can go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, for starters, the first time in the fleet, um, joining Second Marine Division, and again, I mean, those of you that don't know my story, I went UA early on, like when I got to the fleet, so didn't start off very well. Um, I actually got to see because of that the different leadership styles of NCOs in the Marine Corps. The corporal that picked me up, I don't think he would have I'm just going to go with, I think for this, I'm just going to go rank and first name. Um, Again, as Kevin has pointed out, not to dox anybody, even though I know that they wouldn't, especially if we're talking good about them, have anything bad to say about it. But Corporal Adam picked me up. Um, they made a whole big like ceremonial deal about me like showing back up on base after being UA. And he picked me up and it was a silent ride at first. And I think he was like, I don't know if he was testing me out or just waiting for me to speak first or whatever. But after I didn't speak for a while, he just said, a lot of people are going to say a lot of things about you coming up, but I've heard good things about you. And I've heard that you're a good Marine. And I hope I get to see that. I hope that you haven't, he was very blunt about it. I hope you haven't fucked yourself over, to the point where I'm not going to get to see that and we're not going to get to see that. To this point, we didn't know if I was getting kicked out or not. Um, Luckily not. And yeah, so it gave me a little bit of calmness in that moment of like, like, all right, not everybody's just gonna chew my ass as soon as I like walk in the building. And to me, that shows a level of leadership, like to recognize the situation, to recognize the person in the situation, and then to address it accordingly, to not over exacerbate everything that's going on, but to not minimize what's about to happen, if that makes sense. The the other side of that was a sergeant um who thinks we're cool. We're not. Um, that when I got out of my ass chewing from the sergeant major, I got in his car. This is all on the same day, by the way. This is all one Wednesday in the Marine Corps, which we're recording on Wednesday. It's fucking awesome. Full circle. And he pulled me up, and we'll just call this guy Sergeant Quagmire. If you got to ask, you don't know, but he said to me, "Listen to me, you little shit. If you ever threaten the lives of my Marines from your dumbass decisions, I'll choke you the fuck out and kill you." Now, I've told you all this story like offline, so I'm going to tell everybody else
It's
this
such a
story.
boot thing to say.
Yeah. I looked at this dude from Midwest fucking wherever the fuck he was from. And I just looked at me and I was like, in my mind, am I? What I said was, I, Sergeant, because all I was told the whole time, like, by Corporal Adam, just I, sir, I, Sergeant, whoever the fuck is talking to you, just I, all the way. Just take it, and you'll come out on the other end. And then that's when you can tell them to stick it up their ass, which is what I told you all in the first thing, which was a glorious moment. But yeah, that guy was like, yeah, I'll choke you out and kill you. And in my mind, I was like, bitch, you would not even fucking stand a chance. I would stomp your dick in the fucking dirt. There's no fucking way in hell you would even come close. We ain't gonna Marine Corps grapple, bro. I'm gonna find something. I'm gonna find a weapon of opportunity, as the Marine Corps taught me, and I'm gonna fucking stab you in the fucking chest with it if that's your fucking route. And again, this is all hypothetical, but this is what was going on in my mind at the time. But anyways, so you see the contradiction there of like, or the difference in there. The corporal set himself up as an ally for me, somebody that I could look to for guidance, somebody that gave me good advice, to the sergeant that threatened me. And so immediately, you're my adversary. I don't give a fuck what you ever say, dude. I'm not even gonna fucking listen to you. Because in the back of my mind, for me, one fuck up, you're gonna try to choke me out. So I'm on my toes with you. And if you want to do battle, we're gonna fucking go. So that's gonna be my first thing with the NCO thing, Kev, if you want to pick up here.
So while Kevin's muted, and before he unmutes, I'm going to introduce him here because it's funny. I love when Kevin finds something funny and his little giggle that he does. It's hilarious, dude. It gets me going every time. So Kevin, to piggyback off of Lou's statement, the floor is yours, my man.
Okay, so first I want to give a shout out to all the great NCOs that were infantrymen that I embedded with. There's so many. There's a saying, it's if you're doing the right thing, no one knows you're doing anything at all. Um, they were doing that, and then I noticed them doing stuff. I mean, they were just going above and beyond. It was amazing to watch them work. It was amazing to work under them and to be guided by them and directed in such extreme circumstances as combat. So I can't really like go. I mean, I have so many names. I'm not really going to go down that road. But as far as like combat camera leaders that I had throughout my time, there's one that really stands out, and she was my staff NCO when I first got to Japan, and as a boot straight out of the schoolhouse, and then I had her again. She was my staff NCO as a gunnery sergeant when I got to Camp Pendleton at the MEU. Sorry, let me get this. So I'm again, I'm not going to say her name, her last name, but her first name. She was Staff Sergeant Rhonda, and she was a really good person. She's from the Northeast, has the attitude and the accent to go along with it, and she more than anything was focused on taking care of her Marines. She was excellent at her job. She knew her job up and down, left and right, but she always had our backs. When I fucked up, and I did fuck up, like I got in big trouble when I worked for her. She always had my back. She never doubted me. She was exacerbated, and she was tired of me at times, but she got frustrated, but she was never over it, and she was always there for me. When I was in Iwakuni, she was there for me when my mother passed away. She was a great leader and she took very good care of me, made sure everything happened. It's kind of embarrassing for her, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. So, when it happened, when my mother passed away, I found out early. It was like I think it was like 6 or 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, 7 a.m. And everyone was just hung over and asleep. The barracks where you could hear crickets, and it was anyway, so it happened. I went out on the seawall. As I told you before, I sat with the chaplain for a while, and then I had to go report it up the chain because, like, well, what else am I supposed to do? So I went to her barracks and I went to her barracks room and I knocked on the door. And this is the staff NCO barracks. She was a staff sergeant at the time, and they have their own barracks and they get their own rooms and everything. Anyway, I'll never forget her face and how pissed off she looked when she opened the door. And I just I just smelled vodka, I think it was. So I mean, she was like completely hungover. And I was like, staff sergeant, like this and that happened. And I remember kind of seeing the wheels turn in her head and she processed all of it. And however hungover she was, however much pain she was in, just being a staff NCO of a Marine just took over. Being a friend to another human took over. Just being a good fucking person and doing what's right took over. And she pushed through the pain and the misery. And I give that example because that was the first real big example I have of her being an amazing leader. And she did more than that over the years, especially when I got to the MEU. She was my gunnery sergeant. I called her Rhonda. Her name was Rhonda. But we would fuck with her sometimes. We would sit in the office and we all had this voice we would do and we would go, Rhonda. And she wouldn't know who it was. So she'd come out and be like, who the fuck was that? And start yelling at us and stuff. And it was completely unprofessional, but anyway, it lasted into the Mew. When I got there, I brought it back, unfortunately, for her until I got in big trouble, and then I had to lay low. Anyway, when I was in trouble, she took care of me. As I said, she always had my back, and she was always there for me. I deployed with her. During a deployment, she got us anything we needed. She took care of us emotionally. Like I had a lot of problems with my wife at the time and financially, that she walked me through. She held my fucking hand through it. Uh, Anytime a Marine was down and a Marine was hurt, a Marine was crying, a Marine was having financial issues, a Marine's pay didn't go through, a Marine needed to go up on a board, a Marine needed to be PME complete. Even if it wasn't her Marine, she was there for them. If they were in the field, if they were in the unit, if they were anything, if they were a Marine, she went above and beyond for them. So I will shout out to Gunny Rhonda all day, every day. Best staff NCO I ever had. Hands down, one of the best staff NCOs I ever encountered. Second to her would be a staff sergeant. And he actually was public affairs. He wasn't even combat camera staff sergeant. But when I was at the MEU, they had kind of combined public affairs and combat camera for a little bit, for about a year. And we all kind of worked together on the day to day. And he had been an MP and had lat moved into PAO. And he was an amazing writer, an even better editor, and an even better friend. He just a good man. I can't think of a better example of a staff sergeant of Marines. He was always there for us and he took care of us, the same as Gunny Ronda, because they worked together. They were our staff NCOs because we combined shops. They were the like dynamic duo in the Marine Corps. If there was anything that needed to be done, those two would get it done. They knew the Marine Corps inside and out, and they knew our fields inside and out. Um, he was very protective about his middle name. And I'm not gonna dox him by saying his last name, but I'm gonna out him. I'm gonna out his middle name. So for like a year and a half, we had all been trying to find out his middle name. We knew his first name was Tracy, and that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal unless they make it into a big deal. If they're like hiding it, then everyone cares all of a sudden. And he made the mistake of hiding it. So, we all knew his middle name or his first name, I'm sorry. And we all obviously knew his last name, and it wasn't a big deal. But when we were in Kuwait, he re-enlisted. And I think it was his second, no, his third re-enlistment. Yeah, it was his third re-enlistment. And when they were reading the warrant out during his ceremony, they said his full name to include his middle name, and they outed him as Tracy Jean. And like, we broke ranks, like we just lost all military bearing. In the formation, we were all standing there at attention, and I just heard, we're all just cracking up. And it wouldn't have been a big deal had he not made it such a big fucking deal. Anyway, enough making fun of the one of the best staff NCOs I ever had. But I mean, he would appreciate me making fun of him because that's who the hell I was. And he would make fun of me right back. The guy taught me some of the dumbest life lessons, like the things that you would think someone would learn when they're a kid. He would walk me through, and he was a great leader. The final one I'll give is he was actually an officer, and he wasn't a combat cameraman, but you can look him up. His name was Colonel at the time. BD, his Brian D. Boudreaux. And Boudreaux is probably one of the coolest last names I've ever heard. And he was like, he fit the name perfectly. He was just a cool fucking dude. He was an amazing officer. He was an amazing commander, and it was an honor working for him. I hope to see him in politics one day. I know he has his star. He's I haven't checked in on him in many years, but we had a picture of him in our shop. We had a picture of Zeus. It was one of our Marines like got in Photoshop and had this picture of Zeus. He's in his toga with his hair and his beard, and he's holding a lightning bolt and shit. And he had put BD Bedroux's face on Zeus, and he did a really good job, so it looked like BD Zeus. And Colonel Bedrow came in our office one day and he was looking at it and he just stared at it for a second. He was like, "Is that fucking me?" And it was the funniest thing. Anyway, I brought him up because this is the guy who he charged me. I'm not going to go into all of that. It was a whole fucking thing. I got in some pretty deep shit when I was at that unit. And like Marines do, Chesty himself said the best Marines have what, two NJPs? But I have two NJPs, like 4-page 11s, and a court martial that I won. I mean, I didn't win it, but I got through it. I think getting through it is a win in itself. I'll just put it that way. Um, he was my commander when I got charged through all of that. And right after all of it, I did these reconnaissance photos for this entire operation, and he gave me that meritorious mass. I showed it in one of the videos I made going through all my gear. I had all my awards and warrants and all that crap, and he had given me a meritorious mass just for some reconnaissance photos I took. And just getting the award, I've gotten awards for photos I've taken before, but getting it from someone who had just fucking court-martialed me a couple months before, it really told me what the Marine Corps was and what it should be. That is what it should be. Professionalism, pragmatism, getting the job done no matter what, and awarding the people who get the job done no matter what. You can't let your personal biases get in the way when it comes to achieving the mission and protecting the Constitution. If we did that at all, I'm sure we did it in some haphazard way. But those are the three leaders that stand out to me the most. I've slandered a lot of leaders. Um, I've slandered a lot of Marines through all these interviews, and I will slander myself. I'll say, man, I wasn't the best Marine. I wasn't the easiest Marine to have under your command. I was a loudmouth, just single-minded, very, very wild Southern kid. I mean, like discipline and all that. I could fake the funk. I could get through it, but I was faking the funk. I was just trying to get through it. I was a great Marine in the field, probably not the best Marine to have in the garrison. So the leaders that I had, the three that I just listed off, especially, they not only stand out in my mind as great Marines, but very professional Marines who cared more about the Marine Corps than they did their own personal opinions or their own personal biases from whatever experience they cared, and yeah, that's kind of it. I just wanted to throw those three out there specifically. They put up with my crap more than anyone else should have. And they recognized that while I was rough around the edges, I was still a good Marine in my own way, and I had a lot to contribute to the Marine Corps. And I did contribute to the Marine Corps thanks to them. So they bettered the Marine Corps by giving me the chances that they gave me and the leadership and the guidance that they gave me.
Well, and to, continue off of that, then I'll open the floor back up to Lou, or you, Kevin, whoever wants to chime in on this. when people think of legendary Marines as NCOs, Dan Daly comes up, veteran of, if I'm not mistaken, 3 wars there, 2 Medal of Honors earned to Dan Daly. People think of John Basilone, Mitchell Page, Alan Kellogg with Vietnam,
Kevin
Brad
McCall. No.
Castle. Yeah, I mean, hey, somebody out there could, Kev. You never know, my man. But they stand out. But in reality as well, people don't perhaps realize that NCOs aren't just those that win, or let me rephrase that, earn. I'll let you guys talk about that. Perhaps earn Medal of Honors or Navy Crosses or Silver Stars. There are also people who just do their jobs, but do it well. So when you guys think about these NCOs or officers at this point, when you think of the definition of a Marines Marine, who comes into your brain, whether they're not even an NCO or an officer, as a Marines Marine of your time in the service?
I know
Neil.
exactly. Yeah, that's who I was gonna say. I was gonna say Neil, 100%. Dude, if you saw a picture of him in cities, you just, oh, that's a fucking Marine right there. Like the guy is as all-American U.S. Marine Corps as it gets. He's the one whose retirement I went to last year as a first sergeant. He uh he was the picturesque Marine. He
He
like
was my Raptor man before you became my Raptor man for a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, he was one of my Marines at Lejeune for a short time. I got back from Haiti, and I was senior in the photo section under our staff sergeant. Actually, it was me and a guy named Martin, but he went to Afghanistan, so it was just me. And he was there, and man, I think back on like my time with all those Marines and having to deal with them because I had like 6 dudes, and I he was video. So I can't really say that I worked directly with him, but as a shop, whenever we would do unit functions and everything, the guy was always the most squared away. His uniforms were always immaculate. Like every time we did a gear inspection, he was the only person who got 100%. I didn't live in the barracks, but I'm sure his freaking room was perfect. Like for a field day every week. He probably field dated every week. I bet he got in there standing at attention and he marched as he mocked. I can see this guy doing it because he was such, for lack of a better word, a pristine Marine. He was perfect. Go ahead.
I will say this though, when they when y'all came home from Iraq after your 14 months and they got back in the barracks, oh that barracks room was not pristine. That was the one and only time that I like. I mean, Neil's one to cut loose, but that was just a level I had never seen before. It was wild.
Even
So
our
I
little
will just
hoots we
say that.
had, even the
But
hoots
he,
we had in Iraq, man, even in Al Assad, he and I, our little can was probably the cleanest out of everyone's. Like we took really good care to
I
to
think
clean it. He did.
I think, and you would probably attest to this, Kevin, if I'm off base, just let me know. But like Neil's biggest attribute as a leader is not necessarily that he's always squared away, but he just has a knack of like I, I don't know if it's reading a room, but it's more of just kind of feeling out a situation and then adapting to the situation, but never giving up his own moral code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he may see a Marine, like me or Kev that are just like, fuck Iraq, fuck this and all that. And he'll hint at it and be like, yeah, this place fucking sucks. But you know, and um he'll always just kind of reel you back in on what we signed up to do, right? Is to be a Marine. And he's a shining example of every like if I ever had a junior Marine, I was like, that's who you want to be like. Now, will you get to that level? Probably not, but that's who you should aspire to be. Um, he was never judgmental. That's another thing about him. I
He's
would
still the
tell him,
same.
I told him the same stuff I would tell Kevin. Like, I fucking don't like being here. He knew I went UA. He was at the schoolhouse when I was at the schoolhouse. He's actually junior to me, picked up corporal before me because of my NJP. But, when you talk about NCOs that were leaders, he ended up being kind of my NCO at 3-2. when he went, the dynamic changed completely when he was there with me. You know, people would listen to us more with him kind of guiding the way. I credit him with everything.
I have a really funny story about Neil in Iraq. Two of them actually. One of them, he scared the shit out of me. We all ended up buying those Black Hawk holsters for our the Black Hawk brand holsters for our pistols, but they issued us these crazy nylon ones, and they were like the dumbest. They were those big block ones. I don't know if you remember them. They were weird, and they were
I
made
remember
to fit
I remember them on
45s.
you, but we didn't get pistol qualled until
I
later on.
I never wore one of those. They gave them to me, but I threw that shit away because it was such a clunky thing. It was supposed to fit, you could fit a 1911 in it and an M9. Like they advertised that it was supposed to be universal anyway. So, we had those big coil lanyards to our pistols. And he and I don't know if I told you this story before, but we were on an operation together. I think we just did a raid together and we were running back to the helicopters and we were in with a helo company and we were running with them. We had our rifles and we were doing our whole shit. And all of a sudden he's in front of me, maybe 5 feet in front of me. And all of a sudden, his pistol literally just flies up out of his those crappy holsters. It's not his fault. It was the holster's fault, 100%. I saw it happen. And he's running for like 2, 3 minutes with me right behind him, and his pistol just clanking on rocks and shit. I'm just like, ah, it's gonna fucking kill me. I was horrified, man. And I was screaming the whole time. I was like, Neil, Neil, your pistol. And all these grunts are on either side of me just laughing about it. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm laughing too, but that's my boy. And they're looking at me like, hey, that's your boy. And it was really just a funny situation that could have happened to anybody. But that pistol was definitely like taunting my life at the moment. Um, I was pretty horrified. I had a second story, but I told that one and it was really funny, man, and I kind of forgot the second one.
I'll tell one. And
Oh, good, yeah.
but there was a time where, I mean, Neil was always on it, even like when we're in Iraq. Like he's Mr. Marine Corps, like if you're feeling bad, go lift some weights. You need to get some blood rush, go on a run. And so, like, I was feeling a little down one time, and he comes up to me and was like, I notice you a little sad today, buddy. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little sad. So let's go on a run, man. Get your shit, dude. Now, at Alcon, we had to always wear, you could wear like PT gear, but you had to wear a flak jacket and Kevlar and carry your rifle with you. So we do that, and we're running along. Like Alkheim, I think if you ran it once was 3 miles. Like that's pretty much the width of it. So we're running, and literally we get maybe to mile two, and we get mortar attacked. And so we have to run to the COC because, like, as soon as that happens, they just say get away from the HESCO barriers that are, you know, lining the compound and everything like that. So you run in there, and then I look at him and I was like, well, I feel better, but like, you know, that just happened. So what does that say? And he was like, that says you're a Marine. And I was like, God damn it, dude.
You mentioned he got promoted before you. So I got back from Haiti. So I when I got back from Haiti, you guys, the whole boot drop for those guys, it was like Neil and Shane and you remember Ron and there was John John O. I'll say I don't want to like say anybody's last names, but you remember who I'm talking about. That whole boot drop had gotten there while I was in Haiti. And like, I mean, I'm talking days before I got back. They had to put in submissions for a corporal board. And I was still a Lance at this time because the cutting score, I think, to pick up in my MOS was like 1600 or something stupid like that. It was always ridiculous and impossible to reach. But they had a corporal's board and I missed it by a couple days. So I got back from Haiti and I was senior in the shop. And the board went, and a couple of the guys went on it. Neil went on it, and he won. He fucking won. So he got promoted before I did. It was pretty crazy. I had been in for like three years or something at that point. And granted, the cutting score was a lot lower for video to pick up than it was for photo, but he didn't even do. I mean, he went on a board and won it, like just off of being a squared away Marine. He was PME complete. He had done all of his MCIs. He had done all of his training was up to date. He had great PFT scores. His rifle scores were on point. Like I'm not like sitting here trying to slobber all over the guy, but like he was a good Marine. He was a really good Marine. So if you want to know who the best Marine of our time was, I would argue, I would put money on Neil.
I
Well,
think I told Kevin this too of like how jealous I was of the Marines that got to see him as a sergeant and a staff sergeant and a
Yeah.
gunny.
Yeah, I
Because,
would love to work
Kevin and I
under
are
him.
going to talk about it, a few staff NCOs and NCOs here and there, but man, they were far and few between. If I had had, Gunny Neal, damn. Not to say that the Gunny I had wasn't, great, and he's one of the people I would bring up, Gunny Mac. I think I brought him up previously in the other conversation, but and he looked out for us like, and he was getting ready to leave public affairs and go be a career planner. And then when everything happened in Iraq, he had to come back over and become the PAO for RRT or RCT2. Um, and that guy always vouched for me and always looked out for me. So Gunny Mac is another person, and he pulled me aside, and I remember him quelling the storm of Sergeant fucking Quagmire calling my fucking parents and telling them that I was the most un-American piece of shit that he had ever met.
That's probably standard operation.
And
Like
that when I come back, he's gonna fuck me up. Like he told my mom that. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, when that little conversation, like early, if we're gonna go back a little bit, 30 minutes ago, when I was talking about that interaction, when he said, "I'm gonna choke you out," I'm like, dude, I already got all that ammunition in my bag. I'm gonna fuck you up if you come at me like that. You
man.
don't talk to my mom. You don't talk to anybody's mom or dad that way. I don't give a fuck what they did.
we're all adults. So.
We're all adults here. And Gunny Mac called my parents and was like, he's gonna be all right. Like, it's gonna be all right. He made a mistake, and we're gonna make sure that he pays for it, but that he can bounce back from it. So shout out to Gunny Mac. As far as other NCOs, staff NCOs, when I got back from Iraq, there were a few. Um, there was Sergeant Matt. There was Staff Sergeant Sly. Neither of them had deployed to Iraq yet. So I'm coming back as a corporal, um, having more combat experience in them and more experience in the infantry units. They yielded the platoon to me, like all the boot drop that we had, like the influx of, I think it was like 10 or 12 Marines, new Marines that were PAO that were going to go out and deploy with the battalion. Both of them were like, listen to Corporal Friel. If you don't, then you got a problem with me. Having that backing, having that recognition of experience exemplifies a leader to me as well. That's another trait, of a good leader, of recognizing not necessarily shortcomings, but like inexperience, and then utilizing the experience of the people under your command to help everybody, including themselves. They were
That's
sitting on
hard to
like
do, man.
they would have me do like little classes, and they would sit in on those classes. So I'd have a little PFC straight out of the schoolhouse, and a staff sergeant and a sergeant sitting there soaking it up too. And when I would say, "Are there any questions?" If the younger Marines were too afraid or whatever, they were like, "I got a question. What do we do in this situation? What if we can't get out on a patrol? What do we do?" You know, and to me, that's just another example of great Marine leaders in a different situation where they don't have all the answers, but recognizing that you don't have all the answers and then utilizing the people that have maybe the answers that you're missing, it's huge.
I kind of touched on earlier just to add to what you're saying. I kind of touched on earlier. I probably wasn't the easiest Marine to have. When you are a leader, and I never really got to be like, I never had 12 Marines under me. I had like seven. Yeah, I never really got to a PAO shop or anything that size. Division, is split in a way you're never going to have more than like 7 or 8 Marines per shop, with photo, video, and repro. But I had two Marines, and it made me really introspective as a Marine and as a leader, and having to kind of I still apply the things I learned from these two Marines today, because I didn't recognize how hard it was to lead me until I led these two guys. And I'm going to depend on you to kind of blank out their names here, but I think Lou, when he gets back, I'll mention their names, because otherwise it's gonna kind of be pointless. But these two Marines, they were the weirdest fucking guys I've ever met in my life. Especially one of them, he's from Wisconsin. Just like, people from Wisconsin are fucking weird already, but this guy was extra weird. And I have a really weird story to tell about him if you'll let me. It's not really on topic exactly, but it's
Tell
it's
your shit.
it's just a funny fucking story to hear. So this guy, he lived in the barracks, the Second Marine Division barracks, on Camp Lejeune. And he would ride his fucking bicycle. You know the Lejeune area, okay, right? So you know where Western is. You know where the mall is, right? You know where Hooters is over by the mall. So he would ride his fucking bicycle from the barracks all the way to Hooters. And this fool would do it every single day. And he lived paycheck to paycheck, and he would spend all of his money on this Hooters waitress. If you've watched South Park, if you saw the Raisins episode where Butters goes and falls in love with to a T, man, this dude was going and spending all of his money on this girl. And I mean, it was weird. It was really weird. I'll come back to it. It's funny because for his birthday, we all asked him like, "Hey, man, where do you want to go?"
So first of
And
all,
he's
how old is this Marine at this point?
Oh, he was young. He was younger than me. So I was 21 or 22. I was I was 20. I was 20 at this time. So he was probably 18. He was a boot. I mean, he was straight out of school and came straight to Camp Lejeune. And he had been there for maybe 3 months at this time. And he fell head over heels in love with this girl. This poor fucking girl. I felt so bad for her. Anyway, so for his birthday, he asked, we all asked him, like, "Hey, what do you want to do for your birthday, dude?" And he was like, "I want to go to Hooters." So we were all like, "Okay." So the whole shop, all of us combat cameramen, we all go to Hooters, and we get the waitress that he's always going, and I'll say stalking, because he was essentially stalking her, but she never like charged him or anything. I guess she never felt threatened by it. Anyway, so hey, you remember? Okay, here's the names. I'm gonna say the two names now. The guys I'm talking about. You remember Lowndes? Yeah, you remember Lowndes. You remember fucking weird ass dude.
Yeah.
So okay. So anyway, so we all go to Hooters, and we're all sitting at the table, and she comes up and she's like doing her thing, and she serves all of us, and we start talking to her. And one of the Marines that was with us, Ron, he started hitting on her, ended up getting her number and all kinds of shit. But we asked her about like, "Hey, what do you think of him?" Like, and she just kind of let loose. She was like, "He's so fucking weird. He comes here and just sits here. He'll order bread over and over with water, and he just smokes cigar after cigar. And then he gives me this like $50 tip and leaves. So it's just this weird case. Um, he was a really weird dude. And I brought him up for one reason alone. I had to figure out, as a leader, had to figure out how to implement this guy into our shop, how to train him as a Marine, like how to get him ready for combat, how to get him ready for the stresses of combat, like how to get him not addicted to some Hooters waitress, like how to get him some financial aid classes. Like there was a bunch of shit. And he taught me. Like, man, I gotta be a hard Marine to just hard to have under your command. It had to be just ridiculously hard to find the positives of someone in garrison, especially when they're just a fucking weirdo, no matter how good of a Marine they are. The other name I was going to bring up to that point was Hutchison. Yeah, I saw that look you just had on your face. So Hutchison was this guy, man. I don't want to he malingering is not even like the fucking that's just too soft a word.
You just tell me what to edit out, brother. That's all I need you to do.
Nothing. No, I'm being careful what I say. Anyway, so I found the good in this Marine, like through what some it wasn't hazing, but what some would probably consider hazing in some loose terms. Um, just like he would come into work not having brushed his fucking teeth, and I would walk him through brushing his teeth. We'd go through the numbers. Okay, wet your toothbrush, put toothpaste on your toothbrush, put it in your mouth, forward, backward, up, down, up. And we would go through the whole fucking thing like that, just anyway, he did a great job in Iraq. Go ahead.
I was just going to say timeout really quick. So just so everyone knows how far back Kevin had to go with that training, that shit that they do in boot camp.
Yeah.
Like if you're bad at hygiene, you ain't gonna be bad at hygiene. I remember, dude, they had at one time they had Listerine in one bottle and like the aftershave that they would use as cologne in the other bottle.
Aquavova.
There was a Marine that had halitosis like a mother. Like he didn't floss, he didn't brush a lot. And so when it came to inspection time, right before battalion commander inspection, or company commander inspection was the first one. They have you like sound out, like sound off, and so that your breath is like in their face so they can smell it. They're like, first general order is, and then like this dude spoke and, and like he did a little bit of Listerine and then did it again. And he was like, God damn. And the drill instructor he turned the aftershave loose on this dude's breath. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But like so that I mean it's basic. They like checked like our fingernails and toenails to make sure that we've been keeping them up. They don't do that every night, but like every so often they kind of do a little inspection to make sure that we're not nasty motherfuckers. We're all living in close quarters. It's fucking nasty. It's disgusting. You have to take care of your hygiene. If you're a nasty motherfucker out on the street, you're a nasty motherfucker in the Marines, and that's just the way it is. And some people don't break that habit, unfortunately. So that's what Kevin was having to battle. So I just wanted to interject on that of like how far back, like how basic of a fucking thing that is. Even
that's very boot camp.
I'm sure
Man.
like most
I had to
the
do that in a
audience will
lot of
probably
ways,
understand.
That
Yeah,
said,
that's pretty basic.
That said, after doing all of that and just going back to the most basic of basics, I was able to find the good in this Marine, and he excelled he went to Fallujah and he did a great fucking job. He was one of our better combat cameramen. While we were there, he did put out some really good work, and he was able to achieve I mean, he went on all kinds of operations. I remember hearing about him. If he's watching this, bro, I'm sorry, but I'm really proud of you. Like you did a great job.
You never stunk around me, dude. That's all
I
I
mean, he
know.
stunk like to high hell. Like the guy had some really bad breath, and he did all kinds of weird shit. Like he got married right before we went and deployed because he thought maybe it would get him out of it. I think I don't know. I mean, it was just weird. Like weeks before we left, it was fucking weird. I remember he got a speeding ticket one time, and he while he was on leave, and he called me freaking out. He was so worried about it, and I was like, "Bro, you got a speeding ticket, so what? Like, you were going like three over. Who cares? Just pay it and move on with your life." But anyway, all that to say, those two guys that I bring them up to kind of reflect the leaders that I brought up before. They dealt with me. They dealt with them. They had to deal with Marines like those every single day. And as a junior Marine, who became not a senior Marine, but an NCO and kind of became a leader of Marines. It was weird having to, as he said, kind of find people's strong points and really bring them out. And it was weird having to get over how I felt about these guys on a personal level. Some people excel at that and some people don't. And every single person that I listed, my gunny, the staff sergeant, the colonel, and Neil, all four of those people just excelled at kind of detaching the person from the Marine and looking at what the Marine was and what they had to value. And in their personal time, he would go in depth on who the person was. But when you were working, he was working. And all of those Marines that I listed, I think they all shared that quality. Maybe that's the best attribute of a leader is just being able to see, us as tools as instead of as tools and working past it because man it's fucking hard. I told those stories all to say it's really hard, especially I was 20 years old myself. 41-year-old Kevin is a lot less judgmental than 20-year-old Kevin. I think any 20-year-old is going to be far more judgmental and less understanding of people's personal quirks.
I just
uh
met you. Don't steal my shit.
yeah, I mean, like that's who I was. Yeah. I mean, I was very straightforward and loudmouthed, and it got me into some shit. And my leaders, they felt it. And, in the moment, I probably didn't recognize that enough. And now I do. I look back on it. I own businesses now, and it's just kind of a thing. Like I look back on it, and I'm like, wow, man, they had the patience of fucking saints. Every single one of them dealing with my shit because I wouldn't deal with that crap. But they did, and they still loved me for who I was as a Marine, as a friend, as just as family, and that's what we were.
I I want to add on this. Like, I think one of the great things about the Marine Corps in general is that they harp on leadership a lot, right? Like, gotta lead, and they give you opportunities to lead. And one of the great things that you pick up that you can take into the civilian world, and I try to tell veterans this all the time, is like, use what you've learned, like, and not just from your good leaders. Like, you've learned a lot from your bad leaders too. You've learned what not to do. You've learned how to not handle a situation. One thing I never said to any one of my Marines was that I was going to choke them the fuck out and kill them. One of the things I
That's
never
like
did.
step one, man.
That's step one. So, I mean, I'm already on, I'm on a good path. One thing I never said to any of my Marines was that they're an un-American piece of shit. I never called their parents and told them anything
Step
other than the
two.
good things. Anything other than the good things.
Mhm.
Then I had, Marines that were not up to par, like we're not the greatest public affairs Marines that there were. But then I had Marines that came back with 2 Navy and Marine Corps achievement medals, and I hang that shit up higher than I do anything that I ever accomplished. That's that latter half of my 4 years in the Marine Corps was that I got to train the Marines that were the next generation to go into Iraq and Afghanistan. And some of them have multiple deployments, and I'm super proud of them more than I will ever be of my shit. And that's not to say that I'm some sort of I feel like I'm a good leader because I had great leaders. And that's what I want. I think the idea of this, I think, came from just I see in our country and I see in our world, people don't know what leadership really is anymore. Like, leadership is not a boss. Leadership is not somebody that barks orders. Leadership is also not somebody that falls asleep at the wheel. Leadership is onus, and it's pure, and it's fucking personal. It's getting to know the people that you are in charge of and giving a fuck about them. One of the things that the um, Master Guns Constance said about me before I got out was Corporal Friel gives a fuck about Marines. That's what she said in my, not to again boost me up, but my NAM ceremony as they gave. I think they were trying to get me to re-enlist. If I'm not that second NAM, I'm like, I don't know about that. I think y'all were trying to get me to re-enlist. But she said to me, she was like, Corporal Friel gives a fuck about Marines, and that's the one damn thing that I know about him is that he cares about each and every one of you, and it's true. I have still kept in contact with as many of the Marines as I could. Um, and that's something that I also got in my darkest times after the Marine Corps from people that I'm mentioning right now. Um, but to kind of tie back to, man, it's tough. Like, yeah, because these people shaped my life. They really did. And it's tough not to get emotional about them because I like every day I say something or I do something that I know that they had an effect on, like in a positive way.
Well, and I'll interject here. Um, with the only connection I'll ever have in your regard there, Lou, and I think Kevin as well, is what a good leader is. I am not a Marine. I've never been a Marine. I'll never claim to be a Marine. That is one thing I've never been. I'm honored to know great Marines. However, with that leadership standpoint, as an educator, I have seen leaders, but I've also seen great leaders. And I think you bring up a great point, is that people have forgotten that leadership isn't a boss. It's someone who cares about you, but knows how to lead by an example. And one of the great leaders that I can think of right now in my personal life and schooling, is one of my bosses, Chelsea, her first name, and the impact that she has had on me because she does give a fuck about every single one of us, and she makes a point of that. As a group of us, we go out once a month to hang out together, not as teachers, but as people, to get to know one another for what we do, the shenanigans we get into, and to have a good time. However, if you fuck up, she will be the first to let you know, hey, this is what you've done. However, she'll also be responding that with, this is what you can do to fix it, and showing that, like, hey, you've got to own it. However, this is how we grow from here. And I've also seen the bad side of leadership in education. And that's also shown me of what, like you brought up, of taking what I have learned to be a leader in my classroom, the good that I've seen of how to handle my students, but also taking the bad that I've seen and how to not handle my students. And I think that's a great point for anybody out there in the military, not in the military, civilian world, of what to take with leadership, of the good and the bad, and how you can learn from both in so many ways. And it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, but it takes a while to realize that.
Absolutely. I would be completely an asshole if I don't mention the officers that I consider good leaders too. Um, we have to salute officers, right? That's just in decorum, that's in customs and courtesies. When you salute a motherfucker that you actually mean it, that's a different level. Like, um, For me, I was lucky enough that I did have a few officers. One of them was injured in Iraq, that left. Man, I don't wear the uniform anymore. Haven't in 20 years, almost 18 years. Uh, I'd salute him if I saw him. He was in the fight with junior Marines. You know what I mean? Did he sacrifice sort of where he should have been? Yes, in the process. So I think strategically it wasn't a good move for him to be in an AAV with, a bunch of grunts and stuff. But the fact that he was willing to do it and not afraid to do it, I mean, that's to me that shows guts at the very least. But the biggest officer leader and officer example that I had was, and I've already talked to him. It's Lieutenant Barry Edwards. And when I say a guy that like sees it through from start to finish, he still reaches out to me to make sure I'm okay. He's offered me letters of recommendation to get into school, to get my current job, to get into my master's program. That's not me, like that's him reaching out to make sure that I'm all right. Um, he's somebody that, yeah, I just always will have held in high regard. And one of the examples that I'll have on this is when I came back from Iraq, he was the rear off PAO officer, um, and he would deploy in 2007. So this is late 2005, early 2006. So he's my officer. So it's me and then him. And I had never really been rewarded for like going the extra mile ever. And I'm not saying that that's something that Marines need to do or leaders need to do, but he had a way about it that he did that was pretty awesome. And I had gotten like like the top story of USMC.mil, the Marine website for all the stories and everything. But I didn't know it yet. And he called me into his office and he like acted like I fucked up. He was like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you did. You want to know what you did? I'm gonna fuck you up. And I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, you got the top story. Take the afternoon off. It was 2 o'clock. I'm only saving like 2-3 hours, but it's just those little things that I had not experienced before in the Marine Corps. And then with him again, he was just always checking up on me, making sure that I was good, making sure that not only my training was okay, but my mental health was okay. And this is in 2006 and
Wow.
2007 when he saw me stressed out. Friel, come here. You okay? You all right? You can tell me anything. And I would vent to him. He was kind of my therapist at certain points. It's just something you don't see. And like I said, I'd be remiss, but I'll yield the floor real quick. I don't want to overtake this conversation. But shout out to Barry Edwards. It's my dog.
Well, and I'll take this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kevin for an officer that stands out to him. But you bring up a great point about where leaders, NCOs, or officers, no matter what, for Marine Corps or civilian life, um, in many ways, I think that perhaps some leaders don't understand it's the little things they do for us, like pulling you in, Lou, thinking that you had fucked up in some ways, only to spin it and turn around of like congratulations. Something small like that in many ways goes a long ways for us in our lives and what we look up to and realize. For me as an educator, for some of the other little things that I've done, I think about a lot of those small moments that have impacted the decisions I have made now as an educator, what I'm doing with you guys that has led me down this path. For small little tidbits that individual people that I look up to as leaders in my life did and perhaps didn't realize the impact it had on me and how that has changed, my life, my destiny, whether I have that to take into my hands or not forever. And I will never, ever, I would never go back and change anything. With the career path that I have taken, as much as I wanted to serve, if I could have a time machine to change everything, I'd leave it the same way it is because it's led me to this point, but it's also led me to be who I am and the path that I've taken with history. And, for the people that have impacted my life, maybe I'll do an episode where I'll let you guys ask me questions and flip the tables and go down
Thought
that
about
road. That's not a
that.
bad idea, in
Yeah.
many ways, as how I got here and give the kudos to them. But Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. Then I'm going to ask you guys one final question that I thought off without the top of my head. I think it's a good one. But Kevin, what officer stands out to you in your prolonged career for you from from 2002 to 2011 that really solidified what it meant to be a Marine officer?
This is more broad answer than you're asking for, but he taught me what it was to be an American. And that's I think more profound than what it is to be a Marine. It's more
Especially in
basic.
2025.
Yeah, yeah, it's more basic, but it's also it's a survival skill. He taught me how to survive in the United States of America as it is today. He was a public affairs officer. He was a captain. I think I spoke about him a little bit before. He was a pilot and he got all through flight school and he was about to graduate and he had a car accident and it like shattered his pelvis and he got sent to become a public affairs officer. But he wanted to be a fighter pilot. Anyway, he taught me what it was to be an American because his life story and then his attitude toward the Marine Corps was really interesting. His attitude toward America was much more interesting. He was homeless in Chicago, and he enlisted in the Marine Corps as a homeless man in Chicago, and this was back in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. So he was homeless in Chicago and he would go to the library to keep warm during the winter. And while he was in there, he read and read and read. He wanted to fit in so they wouldn't kick him out. So he would just read books and he read all of the recruiting manuals and understood fully what the United States military had to offer him were he to offer them. It's like it's very much a give and take. That's the American way. I can't stress that enough. That's one of the lessons he taught me. It was no matter my own political affiliations or my own economic beliefs or the structures I believe in most, it doesn't really matter. Where I am is where I am, and I need to thrive here. So he enlisted as Motor T, went into the Marine Corps, and he served for, I think, 2 years until he could take advantage of the MESET program, which he had read about as a homeless person in Chicago. And the MESET program is you apply to it. Essentially, you have to do a minimum of 2 years, be a minimum of 2 years into your contract, and then you can go. They essentially send you TAD. They halt your contract right then and there, and they'll send you to college, and they'll pay for your degree in full because you're active duty military. Um, and then when you come back, you have to, I don't know if you, I don't, I'm sure you have to go through OCS on some level. I don't know the exact program specifics, but you come back as an officer essentially. And he took advantage of that and he came back. He wanted to fly planes, so he went to become a pilot. Anyway, all that to say, he became my public affairs officer, the public affairs officer of the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit while I was there. And he taught me everything I just said. He never told me that story. He never told me that story. I pieced it together from lessons he would teach me, stories he would tell me, just his reactions to things. it all kind of came together over time. But this guy knew how to play the United States of America. And I'm not saying he played it as in he took advantage of it in a negative way. He took advantage of what the United States has to offer. Um, the story I just told you is one way. That's one way you can take advantage of what the United States has to offer. I took advantage of what the United States has to offer as a poor Southerner who wanted to make something of myself in this country. That's the route that I took. There are other routes. That's the one I took because I don't like school so much. But he uh he gave us a financial brief one time. Yeah, every year we all have to do the anti-phishing crap online, and then they have to do a certain amount of PMEs, which is period of military education, or PMI instruction. Um, he gave one on financial aid or financial planning and financial security. And it was the most profound PME. I've seen a million of them. I think every Marine's seen so many PMEs. Um, just because you have to have a certain amount of them for even to get promoted in certain circumstances. But he gave one and he started out with the PowerPoint was up and it said C period R period E period A period M period. And he was like, who knows what this means? And it was real quiet for a second. I raised my hand and I was like, hey, I listen to I know Wu-Tang. So I was like, it means cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar dollar bill. Yeah, come on. Anyway, so he was like, that's absolutely right. And he proceeded to give me the most life-altering PowerPoint presentation of my fucking life. Like, I swear he taught me more about United States economics in that 30 minutes than, years of university, years of school, 12 years of like whatever. I mean, he taught me so much um on how to play the system. And playing a game is not taking advantage of it, and it's not cheating. Playing a game is not cheating. That's what he taught me. I am highly, as a socialist, I'll say it right here. I'm a complete leftist. I'm a socialist, but I have stocks. It's in Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, like Raytheon, Halliburton. I have stock in, dude, I'll show you my portfolio. Like it's all warmongering corporate. Like he taught me how to exist in the United States, no matter your beliefs, no matter your principles. You need to live by the United States rules. And right now, I would question that little life lesson, but up until now, that's played true. I have started businesses, I've bought houses, I've done this, that, and the other, and I've done it all as a complete leftist because I understand the system. And I think being a leftist has played to my advantage in a lot of ways because, watching something as a third party, you see a lot more than you will as party one or two. I'm watching everybody at each other's throats and kind of laughing about it while making money off of you. Yeah, you can be pissed off if you want about it. You guys are putting money in my pockets. Um, it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, he taught me how to exist in the United States of America. He taught me how to be an American. I'm trying to get the focus here. He taught me how to be a good American and how to profit as an American and how to succeed as an American. So that's
Well,
what
and
he gave me. Captain Paul, I told you before that he was a
I
ladies'
know who you're
man.
talking about, dude.
You know who I'm talking about.
Wow, yeah,
Got
I
my
didn't,
focus
but
all
I didn't
fucked
know
up.
that
There we
story
go.
about him, but now it all makes sense.
So he was a ladies' man. I went to his house one time. He had a little function for the shops. And I went over to his place and it was like marble floor. I mean, I'm talking baller status. The dude had a new girlfriend every week who was a legit supermodel. She was either a Chargers cheerleader, like he would come in and be like, "Hey McCall, here's a calendar for you. My girlfriend's October." You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would flip to October and it's just like
uh-huh.
the gorgeous girl. I mean, so that was his life. And I don't know to this day, I can't tell you his politics. I can't tell you his economic standpoint. I can't tell you anything about that man other than he knew how to succeed in this country. He knew how to succeed in the Marine Corps. He knew how to succeed as an American. And that's the most American shit I've ever heard in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy who was literally homeless in Chicago, which is bad enough to occupy with the military, apparently,
It's a
going
war
to a
zone.
library to keep warm and learning how to just bend the system to his advantage. The guy, by when I knew him, he had like 6 houses across the country. He had like 7 cars parked in parking garages just waiting for him in different areas. On the one deployment I went on him with, he bought 2 Dodge Chargers. He paid for them through the government program. You see, like all the guys who went to Kuwait and Iraq and everything, when you're walking in the PX, you see those stupid billboard signs that says lease a Dodge Charger today. He took advantage of that shit. He leased 2 of them with his fucking officer pay. He put like his entire paychecks into this. He would sell the cars before we even got back from the deployment. At like a 20K, he even make 20K each on each car. It's stupid. The guy knew his shit. On top of that, he wasn't the best Marine I ever knew. Like, I don't mean to fault the guy. He wanted to be a pilot, and he ended up as PAO, and then he ended up as like one of the officers kind of responsible for Kevin McCall. So I kind of pity the guy in a lot of ways. Like, it's a shitty situation to be in, like it's one hit after another after another. But I always liked him. I always respected him, and I was always good to him as a Marine, as good to him as I could be. He kind of went through all that, all of my me getting in trouble and all that with me. He wasn't my officer, but he was acting as my officer. He was filling the billet, so to speak. And he really changed my life in the sense that I use every lesson he applied to his own life and that he tried to pass on to us, whether we were listening or not. I apply it today. His leadership style, I apply it today. His love for supermodels, I no. He was a good man. Like just plain and simple, just a good man. Not the best not the best public affairs officer, but a good Marine, regardless. He was a very good Marine. As far as officers, as far as officers go, that's as far as the rope I'm gonna give the guy. I'll go like that's as much slack as I'll give him. As far as officers go, he was awesome. His story, his actions as a Marine, how I saw him perform his duties, and the lessons he taught me about being an American in living under American capitalism, not just capitalism, not just America, but the American flavor of capitalism. I mean, he taught me how to flourish as a person, and I did because of him. And I wouldn't be where I am today without his life lessons. I know you were hoping for more of a like this guy and I went through the crucible and we were like covered in blood of our enemies and like we like had our swords and our bayonets. Yeah, I get that. This isn't what most people would expect, but this is the reality of it. He changed my life more than any. If you ask me what officer changed my Marine Corps career, you get a completely different answer. It'd be that asshole who NJP'd me, who I had never met in my life, and sat there in judgment over my fucking character. Like that's who I would say was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the ones that put the chip on the shoulder, man.
Yeah, fuck them. But this guy taught me what it was to be a man, what it was to be a human, what it was to be an American, what it was to be a person living under capitalism, what it was to be a capitalist. While I don't think either of us were necessarily capitalists, we both benefit from it. I know he still is to this day. And I know he's, every single day he's laughing all the way to the bank thinking about that time he was sleeping in a fucking alley in Chicago. You know what I mean? That story changed my life. That guy changed my life. His lessons, his inadvertent lessons, his fuck ups, because he fucked up just like everyone else does. We're all human. We all make mistakes. He didn't fuck up like I fucked up, obviously, but um, he would slack off sometimes. I'm a slacker, so I can appreciate that. That said, everything that I said and the culmination of his lessons and his experience that I observed really changed my life to this day, and I still apply his life lessons every single day. And Papa Paul is what I called him. He, yeah, he was good. He was a good dude.
Well, boys, I think that's a damn good episode that we just created on the leaders that stood out to you. And to end out today, random question that I had in this journey that we've kind of taken, and my passion of how I got here for either of you, because I don't think this will be a very difficult question nor a long one. What is your favorite bit of Marine Corps history that either you yourself took part in or the comprehensive history of the Marine Corps? What stands out to you the most?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, man. My go-to would be, and I'd probably change my answer after thinking for 15, 20 minutes. But you know, anything that Smedley Butler did, the guy's my personal hero. His speech was profound. I think the fact that it made it to the commandant's reading list was more profound. And I think everyone thinking of joining the military, everyone thinking of being a Marine, every United States citizen, every person living under capitalism, everyone should read that book. Read the speech. It's made into a book. As far as Marine Corps history and events go,
All you out there, this one right here, war is a racket.
yeah, that's the one. As events go, I would say the Battle of Belleau Wood really cemented the Marine Corps' existence. Every time they've come at us and wanted to cancel us out, it's come back to lessons learned from events such as Belleau Wood. That is our legacy. Belleau Wood is our legacy. Watching the mail was important. There was a few other things we did. Yeah, I mean Tripoli, Barbados, all that. All of it was really important, but it really cemented who we were and our legacy and everything that followed after it. It made us who we are and made us who we want to be.
Retreat hell, we just got here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go ahead of my time in Iraq and say 2004 Fallujah. The Marines that stood up for that and stood was it Operation Phantom Fury?
That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, damn.
I remember Jan Bender. He was Bender and I went to Denfos together.
Jan
He
Bender
was
was
the
a
public affairs Marine there.
yeah, he put together that awesome video with
It was him and D. Philippus, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Old
I knew.
Philip.
Actually, I went to Denfos with both of those guys. Jan Bender was a fucking great dude. I have an excellent story. I'll tell you guys after. You don't want to record this, but I'll tell you a great story about Bender after this. He
I never met Bender, but I shared his video to everybody.
Amazing
Like,
story.
this
You're
is
gonna
what I
laugh your
do.
ass off. I'll tell. Hey, actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and. I hate that we said his name, and I'm gonna tell this story. So in Denfos, like we had this blow up doll.
Oh
There's a porn
no.
shop right out the back gate, and we went and bought this blow up doll. You can edit this out before you show it or whatever. But so we had this inflatable blow up doll that had a front hole, a back hole, and a mouth hole. And I ended up she had camis. No one ever used the blow the it was never
You
utilized
sure
in such
about
a
that?
fashion. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Ah!
Anyway, so one day, me and my friends, we were fucking around with it and just playing around. And it had drumsticks. I remember it had drumsticks taped to its hands for some reason. And it had a pair of my camis on it. And we were putting lotion on its face to make it look like it was dripping down its chin. And the joke was over. We went about our day and nothing ever came of it. Well, a couple days later, Jan Bender came in our room and we were all talking and laughing and having a good old time. And I remember he saw the blow up doll in the corner and he was laughing about it. And he was like, "Oh, this is really funny." And he put his finger in its mouth and he pulled it out and it was covered in lotion. And to say horrified, the horrified expression is an understatement. This guy He looked destroyed. He looked at his finger at all this white lotion and he didn't know what it was. And he was just like, bro, he was so scared of what it was. And I hurried up and told him what anyway, that's my funny story. It's probably, I guess it's funnier to me than when it was to anybody else. But I thought it was fucking hilarious. He definitely thought it was not lotion.
Oh no, I'm not editing
Yeah.
that out. I'll edit out his name, but I'm keeping that in.
You might not even have to do that. 'Cause, I mean, that video was viral, I think,
You know,
during
if
during
you
that time. I
contact
mean,
him,
if you were getting ready to go to Iraq, you watched that. And that's why I say, like, for me, it was 2004 Fallujah Marines, because for the '05 and '06 and probably even the '07 Marines, that like set the tone of like, this is what it could be if you go. And so like, when we're training, for me in early '05 with 3-2, it's like, all right, well, just in case Fallujah pops off, I got to fucking make sure like I'm with in the right area and I'm going the right place and all that good stuff. Um, and just the pride I felt, I think, afterwards of being a Marine, of like, when we took Fallujah back, of course, I think I don't, can't remember if we lost it again. Probably lost it and took it back again. Lost
every
it, took it
time I
back
gave it
again.
to the army, they lost it.
Yeah, that's just there it is,
Same with hit,
over
same
and
with
over again.
Anita, all of it, man. We
But
would we would hand it over to the army and they'd lose it.
I'll say this too. It's a strange thing. I'm thinking about leadership too, and then thinking about your question about history. I had a staff NCO who I do consider, I they were kind of a duo because they're married. Staff Sergeant Mike, Staff Sergeant Angela. When it comes to like caring about Marines, those two were like set the standard. And I think if you ask Jared Alexander, who I know you're going to interview on Friday, if you ask him about them, he'll tell you the same thing. And I just want to tell this story about it. So Mike is a first Gulf War Desert Storm veteran. I come back, I have like sort of these accolades and stuff like that, for PAO for the new Iraq War. We're all hanging out, we're fraternizing. Yes, we shouldn't be doing that, Marine Corps, but fuck you. It's staff NCOs and NCOs and yeah, a few junior Marines. And we're at this apartment complex out in Jacksonville, and there's a pool, community pool. We're all drinking around the pool and hanging out, and I can't remember what it was, but he said something that like challenged me, and I was like, you know what? Let's fist fight, like bare knuckle box each other in the pool over this. So we both jump in the pool. We had a referee and everything, and we just bare knuckle box. I mean, this dude outweighed me by 100 pounds. He was much taller than me. I mean, he welted my head up like crazy, but I protected. Hit him with the jabs and everything, and split his forehead wide open, and earned his respect though in that moment. Like I said, I think I probably got a couple concussions throughout that night. Can't remember if I threw up later on, but I split his head open, and everyone saw that. And but that wasn't the biggest thing for me. The biggest thing for me was when he like once he realized like he was bleeding and like the fight was kind of over because everyone was like, stop, you guys are crazy, what the fuck is going on? He just like headlocked me and gave me like a little noogie and just said, you're all right in my book.
That means more than it ever knows. If you don't know,
Sometimes that's leadership too.
yep.
Sometimes you just gotta box a motherfucker. Sometimes you gotta bare knuckle box to see what they're made of. If they don't split you open, then they ain't shit. But yeah, that's my story. But again, like it was so funny. That happened on like a Saturday night, and we happened to be working still like in the consolidated office for public affairs. And I walked back in that morning, and he had a little band-aid like covering his little stuff up, and he just looked at me and was like, "Let's not talk about it, but I got you." And yeah, I mean, dude, that was the Marine Corps that we lived in at the time. I don't know if it's still the Marine Corps. Um, I hope so, because
Probably.
I think that a lot of leaders, a lot of great leaders thrived in that environment, and a lot of great followers from that became good leaders,
Sure.
myself included. And the last NCO that I want to talk about is if he's right there or right there, depending on where we're lined up, is Kevin McCall. And just everything he taught me about moving through a unit in the month that we were together. He didn't have to take me under his wing. He could have been like, go off PAO.
Somebody did it for me.
And then he did it for me. And it just keeps going on and on like that. And, there's probably some poor bastard ass PFC, getting ready to go whatever war this country decides to go in to later. That's got good leaders
Some
watching his
salty
back too.
corporal walks up, don't steal my shit.
Don't steal my shit, man. So,
Well, and to
well,
go.
this is the last thing I'll leave with. Anytime people are like, I'm afraid of where we're gonna like what our military is now, and like what we're soft now. We're soft now. You calling them soft is calling us soft. You calling us soft is calling the ones before us soft, and so on and so forth. Leadership of the Marine Corps goes through generations. So if you're worried about the Marine Corps now, you know, have some respect. Is all I'm saying.
Well, and to tie in with that, I think, Lou, you bring up a great point that it creates a ripple effect of disrespecting each previous generation of just enlisted Marines. We'll even leave the officer aspect out of it for a moment. Just the enlisted Marines that has got us to this point today. Um, I know a few enlisted Marines right now. They don't have cars, but damn if they're not Marines and if they're not doing their best to make themselves the best Marines that they can. And well, one of them's rocking it right now with 2.5, another one's rocking it right now with 3.1, doing the best that they can. Another one's getting ready to go to lateral unit. I don't know if I said that right. It's what 1.4 used to be. They've now become something totally different. But the point being is that, you guys pass down your knowledge to the next generation. They have passed down that knowledge to the Marines right now. You guys got your knowledge from guys that had been there, and it's a trickle down effect, a good trickle down effect that goes all the way back to, to Tun Tavern in 1775 of when that first NCO stepped up to the plate. And, the question that I ask is like your favorite bit of Marine Corps history. I've got a few bits. One of them's on this mannequin right now, but I wanted to bring this one in. It's one of the uniforms on my racks that's both of your legacies here. This is the uniform. The ribbon stack is incomplete, but it's what Bernie sent me. But of one of your predecessors in Vietnam, of Bernie Bernston, who earned his Bronze Star with V device in Way City in February of 1968. He earned his Purple Heart there from an RPG wound that he received on the 21st of February. And for me, it's knowing that I'm able to connect the legacies of two different generations of Marines who, in so many ways, overlap with the overall experience of being in the Marine Corps, whether it's 1967 to 1968, or whether it's 2005 to 2006. So many similarities in so many different ways. You guys would really enjoy a political conversation with Bernie. He's a freaking hoot, dude. I love this man. First of all, he's in his 80s. He doesn't give a damn. Okay, he's gonna say what he's gonna say, but two, you guys overlap in so many ways. And so I reached out to him. He hasn't replied to me. Give him a week to reply. He's an old guy. But I think he's definitely gonna be open to you guys shooting him emails and getting in contact. So keep that in mind there. But it's one of the things I love about the Corps. And you bring up Fallujah. I think of Way City in many ways because of what Way City taught the Marines that would be in Fallujah, Lou, what they learned from that in 1968 that is still taught right now. Because even with an urban environment, there are so many lessons that were taken from Way that those Marines in Way took from Incheon in 1950, that those Marines in Incheon took from Garapan and Saipan, where they were the ones to kind of establish that first mindset of urban environment and how to handle an urban situation that Marines weren't prepared for. They weren't prepared for it in 1968, but damn sure if we weren't tried to prepare for it in Iraq and Afghanistan.
We were definitely
That's
prepared
right.
for it. Yeah, they set us up. You always say welcome home, and I appreciate that. Their homecoming was bittersweet, obviously, and that is another thing they saved us from. They helped us with our training, but they helped us come home the right way. Also, I recognized that back in 2005. When I came back, I definitely got called quite a few things, and I definitely got spit on in my uniform. There was a lot. It was a turbulent time in the country. Looking back on it, in the moment, I was like, what the fuck are you spitting on me for? But, looking back on it, I wasn't me. They weren't seeing me. They were seeing a uniform with the face of a killer. Uh, like, they're not wrong. I mean, that's what we are. That said, we all do the best we can. And we pass down that legacy of doing the best we can, just being a bunch of poor kids put in a situation we didn't fully understand,
Dude, but
trying to trying to
okay,
learn it and live through it.
just like the people that were spitting on the Vietnam veterans, though, you're spitting on the wrong person, and that
Yeah.
applies today too.
Go
And I
spit
think
on the
that,
rich people. Go spit on the oligarchs and the plutocrats. Like
well, I'm just
fucking
gonna say that the people that put us there. So
Yep.
yeah. The
if that
people
gets
making
me,
money off of us
if
being
you're gonna
there.
swap me, bitch. I'm rocking
Yeah.
here.
I was
I got you.
17 years old, bro. I'm from Piedmont, South Carolina. You think I understood the eccentricities of everything fucking going on in political and like socioeconomic world when I was
Right.
17, coming from Piedmont, South Carolina? I got my GED from military school. Like, you think I fucking knew my ass from my elbow? I had no idea what I was doing. So, like, blame me if you want. You're an idiot if you do.
Right.
I don't blame me. I have
And
some,
now, mind you, too, we were volunteers.
yeah.
That's right.
And
A
and
lot
to
of the
what you were
Vietnam
saying,
veterans were not.
to what you were saying about people ripping on the younger generations, they really shouldn't. Millennials, us, we are the first fully volunteer military force to fight three wars at the same time. That's never happened in human existence before. War is
But
what
we're
we know.
entitled.
They can piss on millennials all they want. They can trash us all they want on the news. They can blame us for all the problems in the world. One day it's going to come. Think about the only thing that we know. What I grew up doing because of them. They turned me into what I am. I'm not a socialist because I wanted to be a socialist. I'm a socialist because of what they did to me, what they did to us, what they did to our country. Everything that's happening in politics right now. That is why I am who I am. It's not me doing all of this. It's all from, external stimuli. It's
Ladies
I'm
and
a result
gentlemen,
I'm a result of the United States of America and put inflicting what they inflict on the poor. That is exactly what the fuck I am.
let me settle the generational battle right now. Here it is. Until our generation makes up the majority of Congress and the Senate, millennials, that is, do not blame us for anything.
We can't even afford a fucking house right now.
Give
Like,
us
you know
our
what I'm saying?
chance. We're gonna fuck it up. Probably.
You
Just
know, did you
given other generations things.
everyone talking
But
shit about
who
millennials too. They
knows?
they don't they
Maybe
don't
we'll
take
do
into
right.
Bro, in the middle of the 80s, the population of the Earth was half of what it is right now. They did not have credit scores. I don't know if most people know that. In the 80s, before that, credit scores weren't a thing. We weren't slaves to a fucking number. You know what I'm saying? That did not exist. You know, they had social services that Reagan hadn't canceled yet. There were mental health services for the crazy homeless people on the street who come up screaming at you and throwing piss on you. Those people had a place to go to get help. You know, like, guys, come on. I'll shut up.
So all I'm gonna say is McCall and Friel 2028. You guys have my vote. I don't care how you want to flip that dynamic, as long as you guys can just give me some like
I'll be
more
an
pay.
alligator Alcatraz, man.
Listen, just give me more teacher pay.
I'll
I'll,
be
I'll
vice
vote.
president. I don't need, I don't need anybody gunning for me.
My
See what
stock
happens to you.
portfolio is going to be great.
I'll see what happens to you first.
Gentlemen, boys, as always, this was a fantastic, phenomenal segment. Per usual. Lou, you're gonna have to come up with more ideas of what we should do for our dual interviews, because dude, this was a great idea. Look where it led us here.
Well, I mean, and I got to say this too. Like there were so many more Marines that I could have brought up, and if I
Yeah.
if you're watching this and I didn't bring you up, just know that, and you were. If I didn't talk shit about you, you know that you're good. It, for the one or two that I did talk shit about, yeah,
Yeah. Everyone
fuck,
I've talked shit about, I stand by it. Fuck you.
yeah. But if I happen to not bring up your name, just know that I, you know, you were one of the good ones. Because again, the
Yeah.
Marine Corps is loaded with great leaders.
And like I said, if you're doing the right thing, no one really notices you. No one knows you're doing anything at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's just another fucking day of everyone doing the right thing and going about their days. So if you're honorable and you're a noble person and you're doing the right thing, doing exactly what you're supposed to do, nobody's gonna notice you. You're not gonna stand out. That's how it should be. We should all be doing the right thing. And valor being, or what was it? Uncommon valor was a common virtue. That
That's
should be
right.
every fucking day. You know what I'm saying? We should all strive for that to be the norm, to where it's not uncommon.
Famous
That's
quote
it.
for the
Spirit and discipline,
Marines.
man. And what is discipline? Doing the right thing when no one's looking.
Yeah,
There you
integrity
go.
and discipline. Yeah,
Well, to end out today, I guess officially, Kevin, you brought up a great that quote there that's said by Admiral
Admiral
Nimitz
Nimitz. Yeah,
of the Marines of Iwo Jima. And I have a personal connection to Iwo with a lot of the uniform collecting that I do and my passion there. And some of the artifacts in my collection belong to Marines that were killed on that island or wounded on that island. However, I have also noticed in my time of interviewing veterans from World War II to the present, I think that statement does ring true in a multitude of ways of in combat situations, but also the concept of so many Marines doing what they're supposed to do without the recognition is a more than common tale than not.
yeah,
And, without further ado, as always, to end on that to both of you, because without a doubt, I believe in my heart, and I know from the stories that both of you did elements of your job that nobody recognized, and you didn't get the credit for it when you should have. And so, as always, gentlemen, for that, sincerely, thank you for your service, everything that you have done, whether you like this aspect. For me, for those that watch this interview, but most importantly, guys, I can never say it enough. Welcome home, gentlemen.
appreciate it, man. Thank you for your service.
Shit. I just like to sit here and drink a beer.
Thank you. And let me just say this too on a veteran aspect though too. I've been widely compensated for the things that I've done. Thank you. Like I I was not like, I got awards that I, maybe shouldn't have gotten. Like I said, that second NAM was, two NAMs in 4 years, pretty awesome. I can hang my hat on that, but that second NAM maybe have was just me doing my job. But there are a lot of Marines that don't get recognized for things like that. And
Bitch, I did
Yeah,
11
for me,
years and
just
I didn't get a NAM. Give me one of your
you want one of mine?
NAMs. No, I was a shitbag. I don't deserve an
You did. Hey, you did your job. That's all I did. I did my job. Uh,
NAM.
but there's when we get like caught up in like awards and things like that, including combat action ribbons, like there are plenty of Marines that saw combat that never got a combat action ribbon.
Yeah,
There are plenty of
tons.
Marines that went well and be above their job and never got an AM and never got all those other things. And for
Guys got
them,
wounded, never got Purple Hearts.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so um, it ain't about that, and it shouldn't be about that. And
absolutely.
I hope that for all the veterans out there, you don't hang your hat on those little things, because at the end of the day, the American public, all they need to know is that you were a veteran. And guess what they're going to say? Thank you for your service. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for your service.
And I think that would be an interesting point to bring up for the next one is going into that of your own personal experiences, not perhaps yourself, but other Marines you witnessed of not being recognized, and how often that is forgotten of what are enlisted, even officers that do a phenomenal job and beyond, how it can get or how those award citations, how those witness statements slip through the cracks, and some of the politics that often comes into the um, award criteria for valor, but also for meritorious awards that come into play there as well.
I got some stories about awards, man. Officers writing themselves awards. That's a story as old as time, man.
Yes, it is.
Every army to ever exist. But the politics definitely play into it. Recognition will be an interesting thing to talk about. I think it should be unanimous, though. We all served the Constitution. That's what we served. It wasn't necessarily the American people. We didn't fight for freedom. We fought to preserve the Constitution, which exists to protect the citizens of the United States, determine separation of powers, et cetera, et cetera. It's an extremely important document to the American people, and I don't think they recognize it enough. So, if anything, if anyone wants to thank me for my service, read the fucking Constitution.
Please, 7 articles and 27 amendments that have impacted our life greatly. Please, for the love of God.